Journal Night.
Hello everyone, my name is Bob Harron and welcome to another episode on the youth series for the Rangers Journal. With me today, as always, we have Willie. Afternoon, Willie, how are you today?
Yeah, mate, all good, thanks, good to be back.
Good. Yep, glad to be back. As I say, we've not done these for a wee while, so we want to try and get things kicked off in the new year. Just as a follow-up to the couple of episodes we did at the end of last year on Finlay Curtis and Archie Stevens. Today we're just going to ease ourselves back in with some general topics. But do reach out to us on our socials and leave comments below when you're viewing the video if you want us to go into any specific youth player in a bit more detail. We can certainly follow up on that and get them out in the next few weeks. So as I said, just before we went live, before we started recording, Millie, I did mention that I think today's episode I want to kind of just touch on the more recent topics that we've seen with the B team, the Rangers youth players, and what that's likely to mean for the rest of the season. So, as most folk will have seen, there was a announcement or a decision made by the club that they are looking to scrap the B team moving forward, and are likely to send most of our youth prospects, especially more so specifically in the B team, out on loan for the rest of the season. So hopefully they pick up vital first team experience and come back in the summer with maybe a better chance of making the step up to the first team. As I said, we've previously touched on Finlay Curtis, who's obviously been getting some minutes recently. Archie Stevens, who we've yet to actually see make any first team minutes this season. We've seen Paul Enciso and Bailey Rice, more specifically, as well as Zach Lovelace, make some appearances over the last couple of weeks in the Cup and in Europe. So maybe just touch on that first, Willie. I think there was obviously big things discussed. We've discussed previously on Zach and Bailey and Finlay. I think personally, it's been good to see them get minutes. It's been good to see them get the experience, and hopefully that allows them an easier pathway to make it as a kind of more regular first team squad member. What about yourself? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, look, it was obviously fantastic. I think most people felt the Fraserburgh game was an opportunity to play some of the younger players, and it obviously proved to be the case. A few of them obviously managed to get on and get some minutes. It was great for them. Probably the big surprise was Old Trafford. Like Bailey coming on at half time. I thought he was excellent in the second half. I think I tweeted out, I think it showed that he's more than capable of being a Rangers first team player. You're an 18-year-old kid that, you've not had that many appearances for Rangers, and all of a sudden you're getting thrown on at Old Trafford. It's quite a big moment for him, but I thought he was excellent. Thought the way that he controlled the midfield, the way that he took the ball in, the time he always had in the ball. He had a lovely couple of wee through balls as well. He was unlucky maybe not to get an assist. Obviously, Finlay come on at Old Trafford as well, which was amazing for him. I thought he did really well. And it's just really good to see players getting an opportunity to show what they can do. It's always been maybe one of my biggest bugbears that I do think we've got the quality in the academy, and I think it's more down to the manager to give these players that chance to play. And it's not always been there, unfortunately. But I think now with the way we've got quite a few injuries. Clearly, that has played a part. The manager's maybe been forced into doing it maybe a little bit more. But I think in the long term, it's probably going to help. Like Finlay's now, it looks like he's going to sign a new contract. Zach's obviously been offered a new contract. I would imagine he'll sit down with Bailey Rice in the not too distant future, because Bailey's just got, whatever that is, about 16 months, 17 months left in his contract. So, and I think you want to protect yourself. It's at the end of the day, I'm sure other teams have probably seen what Zach Lovelace can do, what Finlay Curtis can do, even Archie Stevens and many others. I mean, I've got a list of players that I think are out of contract at the end of this season, and it's a lot. I mean, I can roughly kind of read them out for people. I don't know if they'll know who they all are, but this kind of gives you an idea as to who's out of contract. In terms of the goalkeepers, you've got Lewis Budanauskas, you've got Jacob Pizikis, Jay Hogarth and Kieran Wright. Obviously, Kieran's a little bit older, but he was obviously part of the academy, but he's been the kind of third, fourth choice goalkeeper with the first team. If you look at the defenders, you've got Greg Allen, you've got Devine, you've got Jack Harkness, Leighton Grant. I think Connor Allen's out of contract, and Christian Webster. So that's a lot of defenders. Midfield, you've got Darren McInally, Finlay Curtis, Kerr Robertson, and Cole McKinnon. And up front, Zach Lovelace and Archie Stevens. There might even be one or two others in there that I'm not too sure about, but I'm pretty sure all of those guys are out of contract in the summer. So if you just look at the numbers, what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 16 names that are out of contract this summer. So I think that's potentially one of the reasons why the talk of the B team been kind of put to the side, because without keeping some of those players, there's probably not enough to have a B team. So I think there's maybe kind of two sides to the coin. It's not just the club saying, no, let's scrap the B team. I think potentially they're looking at the amount of players that's out of contract this summer, and the facts are they're probably not going to renew many of them. So unless they're going to move up a massive amount of the under-18s to play in the B team, then there's probably not going to be enough players to play regularly. So I think that's possibly one of the reasons behind it, mate.
Yeah. I mean, don't be wrong. I think it's, you've touched on a couple of players. I know, again, we know Cole McKinnon's went out on loan to Ayr. I think Christian Webber's just agreed a loan deal in one of the SPFL teams in, I think, the Championship or League One. Again, Kieran Wright, I think, is out on loan. Obviously, there's a few of them have just agreed. I know that in the group chat, there's been a lot of talk about trying to move on Devine as well. Again, he looked as if he was going to be kind of one of the next ones to come through, but he just seems to have kind of fallen away from the first team squads anyway. So it'll be interesting to see if he's able to get a loan move before the end of the window. And again, it just touches on what you said, Willie. Just that it's the manager's hand has probably been forced to a certain degree over the last few weeks with a number of injuries, but I'm kind of hoping that with the fact that we've seen a number of what we would call established first team players or first team squad players trying to be moved on out the door. Obviously, like Kieran Doyle going down to Birmingham City, Rabbi Tondo is obviously linked with a move out the door. It's going to hopefully give or be a benefit for the guys in the B team that are on the fringes, the likes of Finlay Curtis, with the likes of Bailey Rice and Zach, to get more minutes under the belt in the second half of the season. So I do think we are hopefully moving towards a better model of integrating the youth players into the first team squad. Again, I understand that injuries have played probably a significant part in that, but I'm hoping that they're able to take that opportunity and gain the trust of the management team to keep them in, and hopefully it makes us a bit more, again, sustainable going forward, like we've touched on the previous episodes.
Yeah, I think it's just common sense for a lot of people. I'm pretty sure Bailey Rice isn't earning the same money that Kieran Doyle was earning. I'm pretty sure Finlay Curtis isn't earning the same money that Tom Lawrence is earning, and Zach Lovelace probably isn't earning the same money as Rabbi Matondo. So I think the happy medium would be having a first team squad of, say, 20 to 21 players, and then out with that you keep maybe your best 2 or 3 academy players in and around the first team, and then when the opportunities arise, whether it's in a game that maybe you've got them on the bench and you're 3 or 4-0 up, 20 minutes to go, the game's a foregone conclusion, that's the time to put young players on to give them the opportunity. Obviously, Paul Nceo's obviously been given some minutes recently as well. Xander Hutton travelled with the team down to Old Trafford. Christian Webster, I think, was part of the squad at Dundee when Clinton Enciala obviously got his first start. So I think for the club moving forward, it's important. At the end of the day, it's not like the academy's free. The club put a lot of money into running the academy. There's a lot of professional footballers at that level who are being paid. You could even look at the monetary side of it and say by allowing 12, 13, 14 players to go this summer, the club probably saves £1 million in wages. Do you know what I mean? Exactly. So from from that point of view, you've got to understand there is like a monetary side of it as well. However, if you're then going to pick out the best players that you think have got a chance of making it at Rangers, and they're then pushed up into the first team or they're sent out on loan to gain that experience. But then the other side of that coin is there's obviously guys going out on loan this month who don't have a future at Rangers who come this summer will be released from from their contract. And that side of it's really, really difficult, especially when you've got to know so many of them, and you know how hard they've worked just to get to this stage. But the brutal reality of football at this level is that very few players will make it, that very few players will break in and become first team regulars. But look, I mean, that's how it is at the moment. Sort of Finley's the kind of talk of the town, as is Bailey and as is Zach, but they need to continue to go out there and improve it every single game. And that's how difficult it is. You look at somebody like Robbie Fraser, he signed a new 2-year deal in the summer. He was kind of in and out the team for the first half of the season. The managers obviously allowed him to go out on loan to Livingston, where it looks as though he's doing really well. And that's what you need. You need guys to go out and play every week and show that they're good enough to come back. I think Robbie will be thinking that in his mind. I would imagine that yet again, if Finlay signs a new contract or Zach, it might be that they'll stay with the first team for the remainder of this season. But potentially in the summer, they might look at a 6-month loan or a 1-year loan to a club where they've got the opportunity to play 20, 25, 30 games. And during that loan spell, they might come back and then have an opportunity of playing for Rangers regularly. Or if they do really well, then the manager might just keep them in the building and they'll remain part of that first team squad.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, in the face of things, Willie, and I know I'm definitely not as close to the kind of the goings on with the B team, such as yourself, but I definitely thought it was a good move for likes of Cole McKinnon. Again, he was, he kind of come through at that same time with Alex Lowry and I'm going to say Adam Devine.
Yeah.
Adam Devine. That kind of end of season, they all come on, got minutes against Hearts, and they all looked really good. And obviously, McKinnon getting his goal, and I'm not saying he's regressed. I think he's obviously had minutes here and there, but again, he's maybe went out, as you say, with that outlook of getting first team minutes in a tough league, being the Championship at Ayr United, who again are doing relatively well in the league. Having that pressure to try and perform every week, maybe not the same level of pressure or intensity that you would get at Rangers, but it gives them the next kind of 4 or 5 months at playing men's football, and hopefully comes back in the summer with to stake a better claim moving forward. Same goes for as you said, the likes of the boys that are staying. I do agree. I think likes of Finlay and Bailey will probably stick with the first team squad for the remainder of the season and probably get more minutes now, or hopefully get more minutes now. Just with the way things seem to be going by pushing the players that Clement clearly doesn't see in his future plans out the door, and again just maybe gives them that confidence or belief that they're going to be able to be say regular first team squad members at least, maybe not starters, and can push for that once they get more minutes on the park. But I've definitely been impressed. Again, as I've said, I don't get to see much, if any, of the B team games unless they're put up on YouTube or social media. I know you avidly follow them far more regularly than what I do. So I do think based on our previous discussions, the likes of Finlay, hopefully getting that game time, and hopefully if he takes up the offer of the new contract that's on the table, we'll definitely get to see more of him moving forward. Same goes with Zach and Bailey. I do think the biggest discussion that we've always had, probably in the group chat, and we've obviously touched on it previously, is the comparison between Bailey and Lennon Miller, and the fact that Lennon Miller has had the opportunity to play first team football regularly at Motherwell. Bailey's not had that opportunity, but Bailey was obviously highly regarded or held in higher regard than Lennon Miller at the same time when they come through. So again, hopefully we get to see more of the talent in Bailey Rice moving forward for the remainder of this season at least. But what's your thoughts on the I say the putting aside of the B team, maybe not necessarily the entire scrapping of it, but again, what's your thoughts on moving away from that again? Know that we're not in the lower league anymore. We've found it difficult to get games for them. So, what was your kind of thoughts when that was kind of?
It's difficult
released?
because at the end of the day, like you look at it from 2 points of view. You look at it from the players. If the B team was to have stayed around for the next year or two, some of those guys who we kind of mentioned earlier would probably get another year because they would require a certain amount of players to stay, as well as some of the under 18s who are now too old moving up. So, from that point of view, the players who might have get a year are now not going to get a year, so they're now going to get released. From the other side of it, has the games programme been good enough? Probably not. And I think if Rangers are honest, they would probably tell you that as well. We've obviously got an exciting game this weekend, playing against FC Copenhagen's under 19s. I do think that's a good test. They've brought through some really talented young players in recent years. You see that in Denmark quite regularly now. That they seem to bring through a lot of talent and then move them on for really good wages and for really good transfer fees. So, like from Rangers' point of view, I get it. I really do. I totally understand they're looking at the numbers and saying, should we keep these guys for another year? But they're not really going to make it at Rangers. Is there any point in that? And I think they've probably looked at the bigger picture and seen the games programme. Has it really been good enough? Has it really helped these players make it into the first team? I don't know. It's a really difficult one. From an emotional standpoint, I've enjoyed watching the games. I've enjoyed some of the tests that they've had. Some of the other games haven't been good enough, if you're honest. Some of the tests they've had haven't been what they would have been looking for. I think at the start they probably thought they could get more English teams up here. Obviously, we have played like your Chelseas and your Man Uniteds and stuff like that up here, and they've been really good games. But at the end of the day, when it comes to it, we've not had the regular games that they probably wanted. And then they've had some of these bounce games against teams that in reality, they've not really been competitive matches. They've not really been what's been needed. There's then been periods where we've went 4 weeks without a game, which I don't think can be good for anybody. And I think that's why a lot of the boys were like chapping on the door saying, well, we would like to go out and loan. And I think when you start to kind of put things together, you accept the fact it was all pointing towards the B team being kind of taken aside. I mean, they are obviously going to continue to play in the SPFL Trust Trophy. They will continue to play in the Glasgow Cup, but it will likely be some of the younger members of the squad that will play in that. Some of the under 18s, maybe even some of the 16s might even play in some of those games, as well as guys that are in and around the first team who will remain with the squad rather than get out and loan moving forward. But it's probably a bigger subject that we could actually spend time talking about, maybe 20 minutes just on that subject alone. So I feel like a couple of minutes is probably not really enough, and it's something we could maybe touch on in another podcast, maybe towards the end of the season.
Yeah, definitely. I think it would be good to, again, as we kind of go through, we'll definitely focus, going forward on more specific players. And as I said, for those that are watching, please leave some comments below or get in touch through the socials if you want us to go into any other specific players. Again, the likelihood is, as we've already talked about, Willie, is we'll probably do an episode on Bailey and an episode on Zach in the next few weeks, just because again, we know those guys are in and around the first team squad on a far more regular basis now. So it definitely would be good to get a look at them and just go back through their kind of history, in terms of coming through and basically getting to that point where they've made their breakthrough into the first team. But yeah, I think moving forward, personally, I think, as you said, the games programme for the B team probably hasn't been great in the last year to 2 years. Coming out of the Lowland League, in hindsight, may not have been the greatest thing, but again, the level of football getting played there, maybe just as obviously it's just different, and obviously at the time the club thought it would be the best option to take them out. Maybe just touching on that briefly, Billy. Do you think there would be an opportunity to go back into the low league if we sought it? Do you think that's kind of past now?
No, I don't think you should ever say nothing's impossible because, I don't think as many people thought it was going to happen the first time, and it did. So, yeah, look, I think there's a possibility, but I think it would need to be agreed on all sides. The fact Rangers left, that probably didn't go down well, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So if Rangers come back, kind of asking to get back in again, I'm not too sure how well that would be received by the clubs. I think that's something you have to accept.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting, I think it's always going to come down to what level the competition is. And the Lowland League in some games was very, very good. Like the games against East Kilbride, the games against like Bonnyrigg, they were really good games. You could tell it was a different level from maybe playing against some of the other teams, and it's not been disrespectful. It's just that there is levels within the Lowland League that are really good, and then there's other teams that just aren't even good enough to play against Rangers B or Celtic B or Hearts B.
Yeah.
So the brutal side of it is that this summer there's probably going to be a couple of players, and it's going to be really tough. That's why I think getting as many of those guys out on loan right now is the best thing to do, because it allows other teams to then have a look at them. So I think you'll probably find over the next 3 or 4 days there will be a number of academy players going out on loan, purely because it will give them the opportunity to be viewed by other managers, other teams, ahead of a summer contract where obviously they're going to leave Rangers. And obviously good luck to all those guys when it does come. But yeah, I think this summer there'll be at least 10 players leaving from the academy. And as you say, it's probably going to see the end of the B team as it currently stands.
Yeah, again, I guess that's just the kind of evolution of the club and the youth. As we've kind of talked about, William. I think it's whether you're Rangers or Celtic, it's always difficult to integrate younger players into the first team squad. We've seen that more recently. On both sides of the city, the pressure to go out and spend money is far greater than to try and bring through your own talent in house. But again, we're obviously trying to make moves to improve on that, and we're definitely seeing that with the likes of Finlay, Zach, and Bailey getting time over the last few weeks, as well as Paul from the B team, and hopefully we see a few others come through over the next few weeks as we get into the second half of the season. We'll wrap things up there, Willie. Anything else you want to comment about before we wrap things up?
No, it's just obviously it's been a bit of a gap between this one and the last one. Just apologies for that. I've been doing a lot of decorating in the house, and it's just meant that I've not really had the time to come on and do these podcasts. But we will try and make it a more regular thing moving forward. But yeah, look, it's a tough time for a lot of players. Obviously, some of the players will have now been told they're probably not going to get their contract renewed. So over the next kind of 4 or 5 months, it's now time for them to go and see if they can try and find another level that they're going to play at. Some guys might drop into the Lowland League, some guys League Two, League One, the Championship. But it's, as I say, like, it's never nice when you've got to say goodbye to players, but that's the reality of football, unfortunately, when the club make these type of decisions. So we'll await these next couple of days before the transfer window closes. But yeah, I'm expecting quite a bit of movement in the next few days with players coming and going. And obviously, I would imagine we might hear about maybe 1 or 2 new contracts as well, potentially, which will be exciting for the club, hopefully. So, yeah, make sure you comment below. Let us know what you think. Who do you want us to talk about next? What do you think we need to do now without the B team? People want to kind of leave their suggestions down below. We'll kind of touch on it in the coming podcasts.
Yeah, that's great. And again, just reiterate that again. We're filming this just in the last week of the transfer window, so hopefully over the next couple of weeks we'll be able to bring you some more news and updates on players going, players coming in. Again, more specifically on the youth side of things. If contracts are being offered or signed, or if folk are getting told to look elsewhere for their next footballing opportunity. But Well, with that being said, we'll wrap things up there. Willie, again, thanks very much for your time today. Again, I
No
know
bother.
there's been a massive gap between the last time we did this, so again, understand that things take priority. But again, yeah, thanks again today for giving up at least half an hour of your time.
No bother.
As I say, we will look to get these up and running with a few more regular episodes in the next few weeks. Again, please leave your comments, like, subscribe, follow us on social media. We're on TikTok as well, so please make sure you are following us on all of those channels. As I said, my name has been Bob H. That's been Millie, and we'll leave you as always with every night is a Rangers Journal night. Thanks everyone for watching. Bye bye.